of your indoor and outdoor space. So hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining us. And thank you JD Communications and Boston Design Week for hosting this panel. My name is Jenna Talbott and I'm the editor-in-chief of New England Home Magazine. And I'm on my porch. And if you were here early, you saw me talking about my pumpkins and my flowers, and I'm ready to stay out. I'm gonna stay out all season and into winter, see if I can do it. Joining me today is Gabby Bove, the lead designer, interior designer at 11 Interiors. Hi, Gabby. Chris Brown, who's principal of B Architecture Studio. Hello. Sarah Lawson, owner of S&H Construction, and Greg Lombardi, founding principal of Gregory Lombardi Design. So we've had some nice chats leading up to this, and I think we've got a really great conversation in store for everybody today. And I just couldn't be a better fall day. Happy October 1st. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And so what we're talking about is making the most of our indoor and outdoor spaces. And just because the temps dip into the 50s at sundown doesn't mean we have to shut our doors or walls to the night air. As we ease from one glorious New England season to the next, many of us do feel real sadness as the days shorten, but can comfort ourselves with the prospect of welcoming friends to gather around the dinner table, game room, or kitchen island. So this year, given the pandemic, there are true safety concerns regarding indoor gatherings. And with that, many of us are bracing for the prospect of increased isolation. But today, perhaps we can challenge all of our ideas about what's seasonally appropriate. Do we have to close up the porch or terrace or nana wall as we head into fall? Our expert panelists have contributed inspiring images of actual pre-pandemic New England spaces. And in sharing these, we hope to encourage you to perhaps reframe your mindset about getting or staying outdoors. And as my mom always says, there's no bad weather, only bad clothing. I think other people. And then the other added bonus is there aren't as many bugs, though I did get bit by mosquitoes this afternoon. So anyway, so everyone who's here, if you'd like to ask any questions as we go, please feel free to raise your virtual hand via the button at the bottom of the screen. I think that's enabled. Otherwise, you can chat into the Q&A or chat into the chat panel. I mean, we'll just try and keep up with everything if you have lots to say. We're gonna get started real quick. I just wanted to just share the basic format. We've divided these images into 3 parts. We're gonna start with the outdoor spaces, then we're gonna move on to transitional spaces that are indoor and out. And then, since it's just realistic to think that there will be storms and weather you don't wanna go out in, we're gonna end with the indoors. So, if we could have the first slide up. There it is. Okay, we're just gonna get the full screen on. Okay. Hold on 1 second here. Okay. All right, we're starting with Gabby. So tell us a little bit about this outdoor living room with a fire.
Yeah, so we worked on this house. This was a new build house in South Dartmouth on the water. The client fell in love with the property and decided to build brand new. So we had the opportunity to blur the inside and the outside a lot with this house. You can see some nana walls, which are sliding glass walls over to your right. On the other side of that wall is the living room. And this they dubbed the outdoor living room. They really wanted an informal space to just hang out, and especially at sunset, which you can see right here how gorgeous it is. We have a fireplace over to the right-hand side that's cladded with stone. On the other side of that is actually an indoor fireplace. So you have this really indoor-outdoor transition here. And what we love about this porch, the way we furnished it, is we have a lot of movable tables. You can see a couple of them here. The clients love to play games out here, have cocktails at sunset. And we really envision for them to be able to use this throughout the fall, and they definitely do. So they turn on that outdoor fireplace, it's gas, and they're able to use it for an extended period of time. And the other thing that's really nice about it is there's a roof kind of overhead, so it feels cozy and it feels somewhat enclosed at the same time. So as the temperature is lower, you feel like you're kind of inside at the same time.
Oh, I love it. That's really great. And that there's an indoor fireplace just on the other side of that too.
Yeah, and you'll see more of this house as we go through too. So you can
Excellent.
kind of follow along.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Okay, let me see the next slide, please. We've got, oh. Can you just advance it with the arrow button from that mode? We do have, we could talk about this all day though.
Abby's shutting down.
Oh no, restart. Here, hold on. IT, you want me to share my screen? I think I can do it now.
Yes, please. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay. Here, I'm just gonna get up to slideshow.
So Gabby, how many people lived in that house?
So it's actually mainly for a husband and wife, and they have 2 grown children who come and visit, but they love to entertain. So they have a lot of parties here, and you'll see further along, you'll see that pool. They did a pool that's really meant to look like it's part of the ocean. It's quite spectacular. It's
That's
really
spectacular. So gorgeous. I love it. That makes me want to retire and get out of the house right now.
Yeah, and the front of the house is actually at the top. There's a hill here. So the front of the house, it's really unassuming. You don't really know what's going on. And as you move through, it reveals itself to you. It's really nice.
Amazing.
Oh, nice. Okay. I think can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Panelists, I can only hear you. Okay. Excellent. All right, Greg, what can you tell us about this incredible fire pit?
Well, what's interesting about this project, and I thought it was really relevant, is this is almost the 2.5 projects in for the same client. It's a new build, sort of envisioned from scratch in Weston. And what I love about this is that a lot about their lifestyle preferences about how they could enhance their experience of being on the property actually dovetails really well into what we're talking about now about how to increase the potentiality. So for example, the building in the back that you see, look, I might even try my little annotate button like back here. He's a car collector. So he has a pavilion with an outdoor fireplace and a cooking area that's like a man cave. It sort of brings them out. Now their children are grown and they're starting to have grandchildren. So it's a center of gravity different from the house. And there's even right here, there's a little tiny lap pool that's just meant to fit how they were living now to get them outside. They didn't want to commit to a big pool. So this was really tailored to how they see themselves living now and what the next chapter is. I won't say they're older because they're my age, but they're really engaged and they're really active with the family. And so the idea of having the fire pit much closer to the house, where it was just a sort of a communal space. This terrace is like right off the main cocktail terrace off the back of the great room. So it really is an integral part of getting people outside, and it gives you a different vantage of looking long into the landscape without being, sort of expanding the experiential centers of gravity, as I call it, like where you can move people around on a property. So it was a lot of fun to do.
I love that. And I recognize now, we'll see that from the inside looking out from the spot in the distance there.
Right.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. Oopsie. Now why can't I advance? There we go. Ooh, Chris, take it away.
Okay. So, this project started like any other, pre-pandemic. And then we've actually worked with these clients and our builders and our landscapers all during. So it's been actually a really enjoyable ride, especially in the early parts of the pandemic, where we had this great project to sink into and really think about the design and get away from some of the realities we were all dealing with. So we were really fortunate for that and appreciative of it. And in the background here, you can see just a massing study of their existing home, and it's a very quaint New England structure, but it's cozy. And as you're going to find with all of these projects that we're sharing, is these spaces outdoors that we're all going to call rooms. I mean, this really expands their living space quite a bit, not only seasonally, but just the square footage of having outdoor pergolas and basically a real dining room. The house is more of a, part family room with a table off of a little kitchen. Here, they can actually gather the whole family as this couple, they are about to be empty nesters soon. And the whole premise for this was that they love to hang out with everyone and each other, and to have this pool space was going to allow them and the kids really to come back. And then the incorporation of the pool house, and these doors will slide open. So as we get into the season we're approaching now, you'll have a 6-foot opening and a screen, and it can still feel like you're outside and be able to look through the pergola and get the fire pit going. And when it gets even a little too chilly for that, they can go inside and watch the Patriots on a screen, and even work in a Murphy bed so that when the kids do come back, they can kind of crash there. So again, the pool's in. This will get completed this winter, and hopefully, knock on wood, they'll be really enjoying this come springtime next year.
So I have to ask, and I know we've got Sarah's coming up next, and you've also got a pool in that shop. How late are people keeping pools open? I mean, is it just as long as you want to spend the money on heating it, or?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We're starting to see the extension of the shoulder season. Like, I was just at a house yesterday, and they're keeping the pool open to the first week in November, which is, and they don't mind paying to heat it because they have kids and they feel that they're trapped in the house, so they don't mind extending on either side.
Whatever.
Sanity. It's a sanity check.
It's all, I mean, also pools get better the colder it gets outside. If you got a heated pool. So this pool is heated. This is a project in Cambridge. What's interesting about this, actually Greg was the designer of this, so I'm talking about it like it's my project. We built it. As we carefully designed this with great consideration. Greg, please. But this has a cover on it, and it is heated. And I mean, my understanding, and I do feel, actually, why am I talking about this slide, Greg?
Talk about your part of it, Sarah.
Okay, our part of it. Well, this thing was, they had kids who were young and who were going to a school right nearby, and they were in the deepest, part. It's off Brattle Street, so they're in Cambridge, but they wanted their house to be the place where the kids came, and if you have a pool out in the suburbs, it's not necessarily a distinguishing characteristic, but here it really was unique. And there are other pictures further on of the inside where this sort of connects to a whole sort of recreation area. It also had a spa, a heated spa over to the left here, and so it was just a wonderful place for collecting the kids, and it did work out like that.
I'll throw in a little bit of 2 cents here. This was the juxtaposition of the idea of the architecture, the interior, all the construction, everything moved towards an idea about this house had an old floor plan that was like a big old house where there was a back section where there was staff wing, and it didn't engage the landscape at all. So what was fascinating about this, there used to be a garage where the swimming pool was, and it killed the entire space. I mean, the property line is right behind the fireplace. So there was no space. So the idea, what Chris said, this idea of the creation of a room and the edges of the room. So the garage moved to the street. We activated the back wall of the garage, made it important by making an outdoor kitchen and entertaining, the fireplace as the focal point, and the pool. And it's all within view of the new kitchen area. So everything was sort of like a very modern idea of it just doesn't have a roof on it. It's intended to be a room.
So I just got a question. I don't know if everyone can see the question box on my screen, but in any case, Linda Simonton asked a question. She said, do the gas outdoor fireplaces provide heat, or is it just ambience?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
They can be, and if you do bigger ones, they can actually give off so much heat that you almost can't sit near them.
Yeah, sometimes you sweat sitting near them. So.
They make you sweat. So you need to allow for designing backup space, like when you get hot.
Oh, great. Oh, hello.
Sorry, that's my life intruding.
Landline, Greg?
Yeah. Oh, here, you're on, by the way, Greg. Tell them you'll call them back.
So the beauty of having a landline, there you go. This house, which was interesting about this, they have 6 children, and their ages from college age down to like an early teenager. And the house where the lawn is in the image, there used to be a pool there that was sunken, and it just wasn't, the spaces were too chopped up. So they felt like it was too confined against the house. There wasn't enough of an outdoor room. So the pergola was an extension. we pushed everything into the space and took the pool and moved it stage right. It's where you can see some chairs in the background. And so we created like a lawn area for play adjacent to where people eat. There's heat lamps in this space so that they can do the shoulder seasons. It's out in Nantucket. So it was a fairly new house, but it was, again, they retooled it to how they wanted to live in the house, which they understood they had these kids that needed a place to go without everyone being on top of each other in one spot. So we, again, moved these spaces out. There's actually behind the swimming pool, there's actually an in-ground trampoline that's a pretty good size, which I was incredulous. I didn't think they'd actually use it. There's someone on it. Anytime I've been there, there's some kid doing flips and entertaining independently over there. So it's kind of a cool thing.
Looks like we just had a question on backing up about the stone. Whoopsie, how do I go back? There we go. What's the stone on this one, Greg and Sarah, on the herringbone pattern? Is that what we're seeing in the back?
It's actually, there's bluestone in the more organic, irregular pattern, and there's bluestone in the herringbone pattern. And then the pool surround, because it's a little bit more durable, is a granite that has like a warm sort of chocolatey tan color. So we were going with this, I want to say more Victorian, not being afraid of color, the greens and the reds and some of the saturation, and not afraid of pattern. So we mixed it up and made it like a carpet in the room. And they actually have more furniture now on that space.
Oh, yeah, nice. Okay, we've got people like this pergola and heat lamp idea. Show me with the little pointer. Where's that trampoline you just mentioned? On this, it's not on the picture.
Yeah, you won't see it, but there's this little building in the back. We made it as like, the She Shed Art Studio. So that's like a garden, and right in front of it is like there's a hanging chair, there's a garden, there's a craft area, and that's where the trampoline is. So we sort of pushed it into an unused part of the property, and made this other building. They really don't have they have a garage, but it's used for more maintenance things. So they needed a space that felt outside, and rather than putting kids in the basement, it was the wife's idea, like, why don't we make this other space? So we netted it into the overall plan.
Excellent. How many buildings is that total?
There is the main house, 2, and then a freestanding, the garage that's a little further to the left down property.
Right, the compound. Okay, so I think now we're headed into our next segment, the transitional spaces. If I figure out how to advance, there we go. Okay, so Gabby.
Yeah, so
this is gorgeous.
Yeah, so this is the same house we talked about earlier. Behind me is that outdoor living room. So I'm standing entering the living room, it's to my right, and as you can see, the doors are pushed all the way open. So you can really walk right onto this beautiful lawn, and then next to that is the swimming pool. And you can see in the distance here, we have these picnic tables. There's 2 that are pushed together that can be moved around. And then right in front of you, you have a 14-person dining room table. Like I said, this couple loves to entertain, so they wanted to make sure that you can fit 14 without having to have an extendable part. So yeah, really, indoor, outdoor living for sure.
So that makes me think, if all parties were comfortable with it, if you could potentially do Thanksgiving with these walls thrown wide open.
Yeah.
An outdoor space.
Yeah. I mean, I think what was nice about this is you can have, cocktails, or you can have appetizers maybe outside, start in the outdoor living room, start, at the picnic tables, and as the sun goes down, leave the doors open, come on in here, have a meal at the table. Maybe having different stations would be nice. We really paid attention here with different lighting levels inside and outside to create hubs. So because they love to entertain so much, we have ambient lighting up above. We have, lamp lighting, and we also have these beautiful pendants here. They actually are engraved with this pattern, and when they're on, it looks like waves. So it kind of creates this really beautiful glow.
I just want to jump in and say one thing. What Gabby's showing here is something that all clients are asking for now. They want no lip between inside and outside. They want to be able to step out at one level. They don't want to have any separation between inside and outside space. And there's a little bit of a, Chris could probably speak to about the to
Yeah,
build
we
a
don't like doing that.
Well, and is it something that's new in New England? I mean, people are getting the idea, even though they might only be able to use it during the warm months, or as we're advocating here, use it as much as you can. Is it a newer trend? Or has it been on this? Is this what people have been asking for? I think you just said, Greg, they're asking for it more.
Well, I probably shouldn't say it, but I've used the term house pornography before, because people see stuff in magazines and now in Pinterest, and they start to covet that which they do not have at home. So the idea of throwing open walls, like I have people showing me images and I say, that's New Zealand, or that's California, it's not here. But they want that idea of like just break down the barriers. And a lot of houses in New England weren't set up that way.
Right.
Yeah. We've had that same request plenty of times as well, and we've been doing a lot of studies of how materials are meeting and what that threshold is to make it work for New England, because like you said, a lot of these homes are in California that are online. So
yes, as usual, I'm the voice of doom. Lots of leaking comes from that. So just saying, it's technically challenging.
Yeah, but it can be done.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to explore it, and we've done this with clients too, and there's probably some examples here, if you can create enough of an overhang, so you either have kind of that solid pergola and give yourself some defense of the snow that's going to come, and not have it all completely blown up against those doors.
Right.
Maybe we can start to think about that. And then we also start to think about the decking and what actually will meet that threshold, so that maybe there's a way to get narrower deck boards so that ice and water just finds its way through vertically down before it starts going horizontal into the home. So there's some tricks we can play, and it helps if we're facing the right orientation, like south, so it will not just stay there over time on the north side. So, but again, just like Greg is saying, Pinterest can pull an image from anywhere in the world, and if it's in that warmer climate, it may or may not be the best fit for here.
But if the door is installed correctly too, I mean, it's just the way you pan them, they're meant to drain. So there are ways.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I love this panel of experts. You guys are talking around all the issues. Well, where is this, Greg? This can't be New England.
I was going to say, perfect segue. I didn't even know that slide was coming. So it's like, if ever there was a site that exemplifies this is a new construction that we worked on down in South Dartmouth, and it's on the water. It's full throttle. I mean, it's literally feet from the edge of the beach and the drop and the waves, and it was a brutal location, but they wanted this idea of inside outside. So I mean, it's fantastic. The accordion, everything just opens up. We kept it pretty simple out there. It's a big, heavy seating group that doesn't blow away. So everything, you have to think about cushions getting loose and things happening. And there's a giant fire boulder. It's actually a big block of, it's natural stone with a divot carved out of the top where the fire comes out of it. So it's a one organic piece, which sort of fit their sensibility about, again, trying to not make it overproduced. It's already, it's pretty slick for, I want to say a summer house on the coast, but it was very specific. They like this contemporary, very pale and minimal and open, and the doors that was the big move on the back. And the house is actually pretty traditional on the outside.
Fire boulder, is that a technical term? Like that? I love that.
We know we've done them where some of them are commercially available now, but they're natural stones they're carved out, and then we size an emitter, and that can get into the size of the heating element. But the house with a trampoline actually has a really long one that doubles as a table and a stool, and there's fire on one end of it. So it just looks like this big organic whale shape that's coming out of the ground, but it doesn't become as, the hard edges of it. It kind of blends a little better. But,
wow. Yeah. I love it. Okay.
Oh, it's right into another.
Yeah. Yep. You got the floor.
I got the floor, inside, outside. This one was more thinking about how we were activating a space that, the big ledge to the left, the house is up on top of the ledge, about 25 feet up there, and they had no room to put a swimming pool. And they have 3 children that are like college age down and super athletic. They're always doing something. So how did they want to annex this other part of the site that really wasn't usable? And this is something that's coming up now a lot with COVID, is like people are looking really critically at their spaces and saying, this doesn't work for me. What does this do? I have this space. So we thought this was kind of an interesting, I proposed building the pool and sort of juxtaposing it against the ledge as an element. And then because it's so far from the house, it created another destination with the building. And then because it's purely seasonal, being able to throw it open is how they love this inside outside thing. So their kids can be teenage parties down here away from the house. And then there's below the railing, another 12 or 15 feet down, there's a play lawn for soccer and everything. So we basically terraced into what was a big bank with a ledge in it. So it was a fun project to do. It's up on the North Shore in Manchester.
Oh, it's a gorgeous photo too.
Yeah. Love the interior ceiling. It's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, I started to advance it. I do have a question. Maybe Chris, you can address this as you talk. And this is one I wonder too. What's everyone's feelings about screens? Are screens too practical? In some of these spaces where the walls open right up, are people just kind of like, whatever, we don't need any sort of screened in feature there?
No, we need screens. It's
Yeah.
especially, if you're on the Cape, if you're North Shore, anywhere. Maybe Rome, you can still be without screens, but here it's when we start considering these big openings, when we're getting more than 6 feet, we have to get clever and start talking to our window and door reps on how we're going to screen this. We need to know what the age of the children are, and also the pets, the dogs, to make sure that once we've probably put in a more complicated screen system, that it just doesn't get off the rails, brushed into. So there's a lot of great systems out there, and we just do our best to stay on top of everything that can be done, and they can also be automated. But so part of it too is, so this one, in this image here, it's pretty simple. It's an outswinging French door, and there are sliding tracks for the screen. And yeah, you don't have to be so mindful that if you're cooking for a half hour and a couple of flies may get in, that may or may not be okay. If you're going to finally sit down to eat either outside or inside, close the screen because something's going to come in, or even a squirrel. So you got to be mindful of that too. But anyway, when we get to larger openings, we also then look to say, okay, is there a place for a simple passage door? Because if we, do you really want to move a 6, 9 foot, 10 foot screen if you're just bringing out a beer to sit out on the patio and pull it back? So there's a bunch of flow questions that we go through with our clients just to see how they're going to use it. Are they carrying trays and just food, and your guests are over and they're doing the same thing? You don't want them caught up in the screen. The next thing you know, your guest is rolled up in it. I haven't seen that happen. Maybe some of the panel has, but anyway, that's, we're always trying to figure that out.
I wouldn't even think of that. If you're going in and out, like passageways is important.
Or I will confess, they're so good now at being transparent. I might have walked into one and pulled it off the hinges maybe once, twice.
They've gotten really nice, yeah.
The pets, the dogs, my puppy included, I think she saw a couple of stars one day because she thought the door was open.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
She's fine.
This is the same project, Chris?
Yes.
No, this is the same view. Yes.
Yeah, and so you can see what we're talking about. That little pull there, that screen will come, and then the other one will come this way, and then you'll be good. Obviously, we're going to put those away when we want our pretty pictures.
Well, here's a great question that just came in that you could all address. How do you manage humidity in these spaces and the effect on like indoor stuff, furnishings, if the large doors are always open, or I guess even if it's a beach house?
So I think that the important thing is especially keeping in mind how often, you really are going to keep these open. If you are, I think making sure, especially for fabrics, that, indoor outdoor has gotten so much better these days in terms of offerings. We see so many fabrics that are all indoor-outdoor polypropylene. So I think that that's one big factor for furnishing specifically. In terms of, woods and other things like that, you want to make sure you're careful about, using natural materials and if they're going to expand or contract. So I think it's just being really cognizant of what materials you're choosing inside, right around where all these doors are being opened. I saw another thing about energy loss of AC or heat. Yeah.
Or wood floors, that was a follow-up to that. Sarah, do you have anything to?
Well, I'll throw in something that I found in my personal experience, but it's such a great idea to throw it open. But in a summer house, especially, if you've been running the air conditioning and all of your surfaces are cooler temperature, and you throw this open for the party, the moisture, it's like the condensate on a glass. You will get moisture on the floor, on the finishes, on the counters, this layer of moisture until the house sort of recalibrates around that influx. It like attracts moisture from outside. And it actually can be an inhibiting thing because people are unless you're ready for it, when you throw everything open and then all this damp air moves into the house and starts to condense on surfaces. So it's noticeable. It can be very, depending on the day and the humidity, can be noticeable.
I think my Yankee roots are showing, but I really feel like for a summer house, I mean, we have a house in Plymouth that's on a dirt road kind of thing, and actually the way it handles the floor expansion and contraction is that it's old enough, they're wide boards, but there's gaps between them, right? They just where all the dirt from a million years is there. That's how you do it. That's my expansion joint. It's the dirt from 100 years. But just I mean, I feel like this is a discussion I have with my husband all the time. I love central air, trust me, but down there I like to just, to the maximum degree possible, let the outside in. And even the flies, I will let them in. I go after them once I shut the door.
But anyway,
You need the tennis racket.
It's
Not
not
shark I see in the background, Sarah.
Passive
never really a
cooling.
design build opinion. It's just that's a part of the beauty of a summer house, is that feeling those summer breezes on
you're
you.
outside and all possible. Well, there's another great question from our friends over at Hickox Williams, and I think it applies here. So what, and maybe Chris, you could take it. What are our feelings about outswing French doors versus inswing French doors?
Yeah, it's a pretty popular topic. If we have a design preference, we try to swing them in residentially. I think, and Sarah, you can probably speak to this just as well, if not better than I can. It just provides a little bit of a better seal. And I think the screens might work a little easier. With this image that we're seeing right here, and again, this balcony really having you feel like you are almost in the water, just hovering right above it. With these French doors, because we still have folks that want that really charming door, and they actually love the procession of opening them. On these coastal locations, we also have to batten the hatch down, right? So there are little chrome, looks like hooks that you would see on a boat that are actually hooking both of these doors in the open position. There's use of magnets that you can do too, but we took great care in designing and building those built-ins, and we want to preserve them. So in these locations, once you make those big openings, know what might blow around a little bit, especially the doors, or might slam, and that will wake you up from your nap, which this is a perfect place to take one. So
we have Justine Sterling just commented, you guys might be able to see this. She's originally from South Africa, and she says they never use screens there. And her deck has double doors and no screen here in Massachusetts, and swinging out as they have a overhang. So
perfect.
We share that. Yep. She cracked the system. Oh, this is the outside of this home you were just talking about, Chris. And this is in Provincetown, correct?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, almost at the end. And this is kind of the great push and pull in a design process of making and trying to gain any type of extra space that we can per the zoning regulations. This neighbor to our left here is literally within my wingspan, about 6 feet away. And what we could do was, by quote, giving up some space, which actually carved out this balcony. I was just talking about this project earlier. This is a favorite. We were able to gain extra space in our living room and still allow enough for this kind of semicircular deck. And this image is becoming places of like repose and circulation and flow and everything all of us are thinking about for any project. But when it becomes so condensed, it really, you know, one wrong move and now your dinner party is being interrupted by, you know, kids just trying to come and go or something. And so here, clients can get, our clients, the homeowners can get away. For them, they actually can get away twice. They have most of the front half water side of the second floor. And then the real party can happen here. And these amazing cooks, these ladies can come in and out this way. And also friends and family can come from the living room here. So really just trying to make every little piece of the home fit the site here, down to this little mini balcony here over in the dining room. So again, these French doors can open, they can swing in and stay open, and you can actually just get yourself that extra foot out to kind of feel the breeze more and just feel like you really have that connection to the beach and the water.
Oh, that's so nice. So nice.
Beautiful.
All right. Oh, okay. So speaking of screens, I think these next two pages, Gabby, are porches. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is actually the same house that I've been talking about. So this is on the other side. So talk about maximizing the property. They wanted to have as many different seating areas as possible. So this is really for their informal dinners that I think they almost, not all year round, but they really stretch it. They love sitting out here. You're protected, to your point earlier, like there's no bugs coming in. They have a grill. I think you can kind of, it's actually behind that post here. I'm not as good with my drawing tool as Chris is, but it's behind this post. There's a grill, so you can cook out here, and it's actually adjacent to the kitchen. So behind where I'd be standing would be the kitchen. You can come right out. And what's nice about this, like the warmth of the materials, it feels really natural. It feels really cozy all year long. It's not unnatural to stay here through late fall and be protected from the wind, because there is quite a bit of wind that's coming off in South Dartmouth. So, you know, this is strategically placed so that you're not getting a ton of glare or a ton of wind, which is really nice.
Does it get closed up in the winter in any way? Like how is this winterized?
It does. So there are actually shutters that you can't see that do come down, and they do close this up, and that's actually along the entirety of the house. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I don't know if the next one's the same project. Oh, this is a different project.
This is, yeah, so this is in Concord. So this is really, this was a fun project. So this property is along, you can see a river in the back here. So the clients own this whole property. They really wanted to expand their outdoor living. So but right behind me is the living room. And then right to the right of me is an outdoor patio and outdoor dining space. They use this space every day. They read out here, and these pieces of furniture move around a lot. They move them around a lot. So they're actually a little bit, they're not super heavy. The husband likes to read in this chair. It swivels and faces the river. And they do have dinner parties out here. And I actually attended one when the project was finished. They decided to cook for us. So we stayed out here, and they moved the table to the middle of this space and kind of moved things around so we could be out there. And in the winter, what's nice about this is these screens go away and they're replaced by glass. So you don't get a full heated space, but what you also cannot see is that there is a gas fireplace also in this space. So when you have the glass in and you have the gas fireplace on, it actually, like we were talking about before, it gets kind of hot in there. So yeah, it's a really nice space, and you can really use it, like you said, stretching into November.
Gabby, you make a really great point with these types of rooms where, you know, in a matter of 5 minutes, you could transform this into a completely different setting for the number of guests that are coming over. And it's really, really part of the fun of working with these type of spaces. So, you know, if it's 2 of them, they're nestled in, and then if it's 12, I could see that working so easily here.
Yeah, yeah. And the glass is another great element too. You know, like I don't know how many people are doing this, but it was really important for them to be able to switch out the screens for the glass to extend further.
So the glass is somewhere else stored, and it comes in and gets installed?
Yes.
Do they do that themselves? Or does that?
They don't personally, but I know my mother also has that in her screened porch, and she and her husband do it themselves. It does take some time. It's not a 5-minute ordeal. It does, you know, it's a day project, but it can happen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think our next segment is blizzard proof. So clearly we're inside.
Yeah. Yes, this is definitely a wintry scene. So yeah, this space, really large space that we had to work with. So what the client wanted, another couple with children who wanted to entertain, and they wanted to create different seating vignettes. So in this space, being, indoors, having that great fireplace, it is a, wood burning fireplace. They wanted that to be the highlight of the space, and they wanted to create different notes. So what you can see in this photo is this very large custom ottoman that we had done in a vinyl fabric that's meant to be like leather, and that actually, it moves around. It can become seating. You can put your feet up on it. You can have a tray like we have here for food. You can play games on it. So it's really versatile. And then we have another seating node right towards the fireplace to have a cup of coffee, read the newspaper. And then to the left of the fireplace, we created another seating node on the edge of the room with a built-in reading nook that faces out to sprawling lawn on this property. So they really took advantage of the large space. And what was nice about it is the ability to create different seating arrangements for whatever you might be doing on that day if you're stuck inside.
Right, you can get away from each other, but still
Yeah,
fire.
in the same room. Yeah, exactly.
Great. Okay, this is also you. I love this room. I remember this room. I remember this project.
Yeah. Yeah, so this room was, meant to be a respite from the kids a little bit. It's a master bedroom, but there's also a lounge space in here, and that was purposefully done so that the parents, that they have 2 twin girls, they could have their own lounging space. So you can see that we built in this custom sofa into this nook here. Really great light comes in. We have ottomans that can be moved around if they did want to put their feet up. And then right to the left of the bed that you can't see, they have their own fireplace and TV. So it becomes their media room, a place for them to, work on their laptops, and then also for them to sleep. So they, really can do a lot without having to leave the bedroom, which is nice.
Love it. All my clothes would be piled up on that.
That's what it looks like before, and that's what it's going to look like after that shoot.
Exactly. Right.
All the laundry.
Right. No, they're really good. They keep it like this all the time.
Good.
Yeah. And then this space, totally different from the last one. We actually, Sarah Lawson worked on this. SNH built, I think, is this part of the addition? So there was an interior renovation, and they made this really easy for us because it's gorgeous, and we furnished it for the kids. So this space, why have the space for your kids all in the middle of the house? This is really their own respite. They have a little lounge area. That back part that you see is actually quite large, so they can store all their toys and their books there. And we have a bit of fun with this reading nook made out of a swing. So it's a room for the kids to just be. They have their play dates. They can have friends in this room, and kind of it be closed off from the rest of the house, which was important.
It's like a little house inside the house.
Yeah.
It's like a little
Exactly.
place. And maybe it's a workspace now, but my daughter would love that chair. That's just a swing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Oh, okay. So I want to hear about this basement renovation. This is a basement, right?
So this project, this is in Belmont, and this project started, it was going to be just a first floor renovation. And then before we started, the house burned down. And I would like to emphasize, before we started, it had nothing to do. And so they got the chance, and this was before COVID. So it was just, they have one sort of young teen boy, and they were able to completely rethink how they were going to do this. And this is the basement. So the way they situated the house was such that, as you can see, natural light comes in here. It's a radiant floor. There's a music room in there. And I was just there the other day, actually, and they use it all the time. They sort of live down there, which is interesting because there's a beautiful living room too. But this is really, and I think there's one coming too where we dug down. This one was, we were pretty much starting from scratch. But people are really going, it just sounds worse than it is, because wait till you see the pictures, they're going into the basement. There's a huge amount of activity in basement that we're seeing.
Can I just ask about the wood panels here? Is this what's happening here? Is this decorative or is it?
Yeah, it's a reclaimed river wood. It's the stuff that they find down in a low oxygen environment, and it's preserved, and they bring them up and mill them, and they're really beautiful. They have that behind the headboard of the bed too, in
I love the look.
The owner's suite. Yeah, it's really
I love
pretty.
Concrete. Yeah.
The concrete, I was going to say that the stain, or I don't know if it's stained, but I love the look of the concrete floor down there. Really chic. It's cool.
Now I think I have one more picture of it, and it's this incredible. I love this bath.
Yes, I mean you can see that bathroom in the background in the other picture. So yeah, this is just part of the suite that they have down there.
Oh, that's really nice. Did you say so? You did dig down for this?
We dug down a little, but it wasn't. So what the one that you're going to see further is where, you know, we took the basement down 4 feet. It's just we go into an existing basement and we go down. Let me think about this. Well, this next one where you were. This is the inside of the job that Greg and I were talking about, where there's the pool in the back, and this part connects through a doorway, as Greg described. This is the basement. Connects to the backyard, and this also has a screening room and actually another game room and a gym. And the idea of this was, again, to sort of collect the children there as opposed to other places. But one thing they did do is they put an alarm on the door. Do you remember this, Greg? Because they
know where they are at all times.
They want to know if there's a kid, if they're opening the door for kids to come in.
Oh,
wow.
So and I thought, you know, genius, because that, you know, the school that they went to is actually the same school my kids went to. And, you know, you get a bunch of kids finding a place to go, you know, and it can turn to a rager. So they were trying to control, they wanted them there, but they wanted to keep them, no arrests, you know what I mean? So,
I'm going to skip back to the other side. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Do you want to say something else?
No, that's right. Go ahead.
We did have a question. Oops, hold on. That one's the fun one for last. The floors. Justine Sterling asked, we just want to hear a little bit more about the flooring here. I think you said it was a poured concrete with radiant. What did you say that was?
It's poured concrete with radiant, and it's dye to make it those colors. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I hope that answered Justine's question. She'll let us know if she wants to know more. And now I got to skip ahead to this crazy space.
Yes. So this is a house in Cambridge that where we didn't expand the footprint of the house. It was already a reasonably sized house, but the customers were from Iceland, and they actually brought their own architect from Iceland. And we dug down like crazy. So this is the basement, and they had a screening room down there and all kinds of entertainment. But they, of course, as you can see, were wine aficionados. And the whole trend of digging down is, we see a huge increase in that. I'm sure you guys see it too. Part of the reason is because they're now zoning in. Not only do they not discourage it, which they used to, they now encourage it. There are benefits in terms of how they calculate your floor area ratio in Cambridge to use the space, because they're trying to increase density. I mean, they want to make more places for people to live because of prices there. So footprint stayed the same, a whole entertainment area, high ceilings, really beautiful down below.
Great. And I think I don't know if it's the same project that I have. Is this the same, or is this a different project?
That's the same project.
Okay.
That's the same project. That's outside. It's as though we're standing outside the wine room now. I mean, you know, this is on the extreme end of what we built in Cambridge.
It's a viewing room, a wine viewing room.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Sarah, I'm jumping in. Like, I know this house. Sarah, this house isn't modern on the outside, right?
No, not modern on the outside. You come in.
I'd love to see what the upstairs looks like. This is still in the basement, this room?
Yes, and actually, they cleared out the quarries of some part of the country for this, because there's stone everywhere, and it's upstairs too. And I think that, and glass, a lot of the partitions are like the rail system. I shouldn't call it a rail system because it's all glass. And so I think it just was a sensibility. You know, they weren't married to the Cambridge sensibility, architectural sensibility. They just had their own thing, but the outside kept, you know, the same footprint, and the back is all stone too, outside.
You never know.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, this is great. So this is the last of our slides, I believe, but we do have a a great question. Oops, I want to go back because that's a fun slide to just end on. Or we could stop sharing. But in any case, we have a question. Oh, before I ask that one, Vani wants to know how sound is managed with all these hard surfaces. I think that's a great question. There's sound deadening panels, or are they just...
People from Iceland are soft-spoken? I'm sorry that there are not sound panels there, if I remember correctly. I don't think so. Well, the ceilings, no, it's not sound panels. It's funny because that space isn't that big. And so there are partitions, and I don't remember it being loud, which of course makes no sense, but that's my memory of it. And there wasn't any particular technology around the sound.
Huh. Interesting. They embrace the echo. So let's see. Someone's using the hand raising feature. I'm not sure how to answer it, but we have another question for the group. If anyone has any ideas about renovating an attic space, we've talked about basements. Can anyone think about?
Yeah, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
So they, when you create what I would assume be your third floor, right? It's always the question of, well, who's going up all those flights of stairs? Is it the kids or is it the parents? And it's probably a little more than 50-50, but it does give them just a quick moment of pause of, do you throw the kids up there, or do you want to get away a little bit more and have a bit more privacy? So just like these basements, we just have to be mindful of what the zoning parameters are and how much we can build. We do quite a bit in Milton, and they have a pretty intense formula for how much you can do up there, but typically we've been able to find a good amount of space to create master suites or create spaces that are for the kids and have a common playroom, ensuite bathrooms. But I can also be bad news when I first approach people, because attic floors aren't meant to be lived on. So structurally we need to re-support them. And then roof loads basically become completely different, because we need to structurally enforce the main ridge of the house so that we can create dormers and then transition those loads down to the rest of the building. So it provides a great deal of square footage and additional room for families to grow, but they're fun projects, but we like the challenge of them.
Huh. I wouldn't even think of that. The floor itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually attic floors are maybe that tall, if you're lucky.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, so we have Laura who would like to ask a question. I think, Laura, you can just speak and we'll hear you. Is that going to work? I don't know. I've never seen this work before. Oh, Nicole, we're not hearing anything. Is there anything I need to do? She's chatting me. She could. No. Oh, she needs to unmute. Manage your mute. Manage your mute. We'll give her a second here. Guys, that was fantastic. And we do have just a few more minutes. If anyone else wants to ask us any questions, you could chat it. You can try raising your hand after we figure out, Laura, our guinea pig, how to do it. I think we answered a bunch as they came through, and it looks like you guys were watching the chat as well. Yeah. I'm inspired. I love it. For me, my space, my living space expands hugely during the summer months, and it's always really hard to go back inside. So, oh, did I hear something? I don't think she's there. Oh, we're sorry, Laura. Well, does anyone have any last comments they want to make about, I have it. We have a little bonus round. We're supposed to share our new, I don't have my notes, so I can't remember what I called it, pandemic rituals.
Yeah.
What's something, your pandemic summer? Sarah, we'll start with you.
Well, I actually, there was a great question. And what I thought of is that my husband and I got one of those, so as actually we just did this a couple of weeks ago. We got one of those solo outdoor stoves, which is a stainless steel double-walled stove that has a system for recombusting the smoke. So it's less smoky, okay? And this thing's about 2 feet across. And we got it so we could be outside on the deck at our house in Plymouth later. And what I noticed about that is that we normally on a Friday night or something, we'll sit down and we'll have hors d'oeuvres and a cocktail together and we'll hang out and chat. But then he'll go read, I'll go watch a movie, and we'll sort of disappear from each other. Well, what happened was, even though it's cold and we're stuck outside and it's starting to be winter, we sat out there by the fire and talked for a couple hours. Like, it was actually the positive side of this negative was a whole new sort of way of communicating and place to be together. So the sunny side of being, of winter outside.
Solo stove going the rest of the season into winter, right?
I'm planning on doing it all winter because as I agree with your mother, because it's all in the boots, those big snow boots.
Love it. Yep. No bad weather, just bad clothing. All right, Chris, how about you?
Sure. So, these are all these silver linings, right, to what we're going through. And so, my wife and I, we were able to remotely and spend a bunch of time at our home in Vermont. And we had crafted out this small kind of little patio area that always worked well for cocktails and, greeting our friends, typical summer evenings, fall evenings. And then we needed a bit more space and to be able to see, we kept in touch with, there's a few of us, so we could invite them over and be outside and try to have dinner. And so we were trying to see what we need to do with this really tiny backyard. And we're in an association, so we don't have full control, but we could gain it. So we took a folding table and tablecloths and everything else, and Julie got a ton of candles, and we just started moving the table around the backyard to see where we wanted to, for next spring, expand to. And so we kind of had this little movable, not a movable feast, but a little movable dinner party of 4 during the summer. And it was kind of fun. And it was kind of once we set it all up, it was like, oh, this looks great. And now it gives us a little bit more of an idea of the outdoor furniture we want to try to get for there as well. So it's like these little temporary things that we're doing out of necessity will lead to something, a bit more fun even for next year.
You'll be making a more informed decision because you've tried it out. I love that.
Yeah, it's even better than marking it out in blue tape. It was like,
you're actually sitting it. And seeing how the light changes too. I mean, I think that's so key because it gets very dramatic at the end of this year. All right, Gabby, what about you?
So my husband and I, we love to go out to restaurants. That was our big thing. We would love to try new places in Boston, and losing that, we were rid of our Friday night date night. So a coworker of mine actually mentioned that she had done a virtual cocktail class with her husband. And so Chris and I did it one time, and then it became a habit. So through Bully Boy Distillers, and I don't know if they're doing it anymore. I know they have an outdoor garden, but what was really fun is it was the entire week. So they send out the ingredient list on Monday. They send out the maceration or any kind of pre-mixer that you have to do on Wednesday. So you got to make that in preparation. And then on Friday night, we used, I'm in my dining room now, but we used our dining room table as our bar, and we make the drinks and we would drink them during the class, and then Chris would usually make more. But it was a really fun ritual that was, our date night, because we couldn't go out. And now we kind of Chris is really a great bartender. I am not, I don't pretend to be, but it's a fun thing to make drinks at home and make it a fun thing that we do. So.
Oh, I love it. And there's some great build up too. If it starts on Monday.
Right. There's a whole activity. It felt exciting because, there wasn't a lot to be excited about. So it was good.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, Greg, we're going to talk about Pop-Tarts.
How can I not talk about Pop-Tarts? It seems like after all this lead-in, and Chris is exploring space, and someone's doing cocktail mixology, and I'm going to some 70s white trash thing. But you know what? It was just funny because I wasn't leaving the house, and my partner would go out and buy the food. And there was a commercial. I don't know if it's some craving for some normalcy from my childhood. And I used to eat them after school sometimes. And we never thought anything of it. They were just what you did. You had Pop-Tarts. And I said, why don't you give me some Pop-Tarts? And he looked at me like I had 3 heads. And I said, no, I'm serious. Just try it. He said, that's disgusting. I'm not bringing them in the house. And blah, blah, blah. So we bring him into the house, and then it ended up, he's like, they with a cocktail at night, they're actually not so bad. And I said, well, yeah, that segues in. And then how it turned into this other part of COVID was we have a house in Provincetown, so it became a joke. We have the Pop-Tarts, and we would invite people to our fire pit in the backyard because we can socially distance and say, why don't you come over and we'll have Pop-Tarts. And at first it was like shock and horror. And now we have to buy them in a big box size because people they come over for cocktails, socially distanced, and Pop-Tarts.
What kind of cocktail do you serve with Pop-Tarts?
Yeah.
But if you go back, I'll quote my sister who used to say when she was in college, it was a vodka shot with a Pop-Tart chaser. But we're kind of into, like, they do great with brown liquor, especially the cinnamon one. Like you do that, you toast that up and have a Manhattan. And it's like,
Oh, now you're talking.
Yeah,
home run, right?
that's inspiring. I'm
You think you
inspired.
can roast it in the winter, like with some tongs? You could maybe like give it a little brown, right?
They put them in the fire pit, like over the gas flame. Like, what if we try to s'mores it? What if
That's
we?
what I'm saying.
Yeah, like with the plant. Yeah.
And the debate about frosting or no frosting was like a big thing. But it really was like everyone was looking for a comfort food thing. It was weirdly a touchstone of a lot of people's childhood from the 70s, like Pop-Tarts.
I remember them from camping. It was always Well, guys, thank you so much. It's 5 o'clock exactly. That was a fantastic chat with all of you. And thanks everyone for joining us. We were holding steady at over 50 participants the entire time. There's 43 of you still there. So thanks everybody. and
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jenna.
Thanks, Jenna.
Bye-bye.
Bye.